Welcome to the Daily English Learning Podcast.
Hello to all our ambitious listeners tuning in from around the world, and welcome back to another valuable episode of the Daily English Learning Podcast. I am your host, Olivia, and I'm absolutely delighted to be sitting here once again with my fantastic co-host, Martin.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for another deep dive into essential English conversation. I am feeling particularly professional today because we are going to discuss a topic that can literally change your life and your future career.
That is right, Martin, because today's episode is entirely dedicated to job interviews and business English. Whether you are a student looking for your first job or a professional looking to climb the career ladder, mastering the art of the interview is absolutely crucial for success.
Job interviews can be incredibly stressful experiences, especially when they are in a second language. Our goal today is to reduce that stress by providing you with the vocabulary, the strategies, and the confidence you need to walk into that room and impress the hiring manager.
We will be discussing how to write a killer resume, how to answer tricky questions like, what is your biggest weakness? And we will even act out a full job interview role play so you can hear exactly what to say.
So put on your best suit, straighten your tie, and let's get down to business. Olivia, do you remember your very first job interview? Was it a success or a total disaster?
My first interview was actually for a part-time job at a bookstore when I was a teenager. I was incredibly nervous, and my hands were shaking so much that I dropped my resume on the floor. Thankfully, the manager was very kind and hired me anyway because he liked my enthusiasm for reading.
That is a great story because it shows that personality often matters just as much as skills. But before you even get to the interview, you need a strong resume or CV. In the UK and Europe, we usually say CV curriculum vitae, while in the USA, resume is more common.
Exactly, and the golden rule for a CV is clarity. You want to keep it concise, usually no more than 2 pages. You should highlight your work experience, your education, and your hard skills, like coding or languages, as well as your soft skills like teamwork and communication.
A common mistake people make is listing every single thing they have ever done. If you are applying for a job as a software engineer, you probably don't need to list that you were a dog walker when you were 12 years old unless it demonstrates a specific relevant skill.
That is very true. You should tailor your CV for every single job application. Look at the job description, find the keywords they use, and make sure those same keywords appear in your resume. It shows the employer that you have actually read their requirements carefully.
Another tip is to proofread everything 3 times. Spelling mistakes on a CV are a huge red flag. It suggests that you don't pay attention to detail. If you say, I am a perfectionist, but you spell perfectionist wrong, you are definitely not getting the job.
Once you get the interview invitation, the preparation begins. Martin, what do you think is the most common and perhaps the most difficult question that interviewers ask?
I think the classic opener, tell me about yourself, is surprisingly difficult. People often start telling their entire life story, starting from where they were born. But the interviewer actually wants a professional summary, who you are, what you are here today, and why you are here today.
I agree. It is your elevator pitch. Another dreaded question is, what is your biggest weakness? This is a trap. You shouldn't say I work too hard because it sounds fake. But you also shouldn't say I am lazy because you won't get hired.
The trick is to choose a real weakness but then explain how you are working to improve it. For example, you could say, I sometimes struggle with public speaking, so I have joined a local debate club to practice and build my confidence. This turns a negative into a positive.
That is a perfect answer. Another common question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? They want to know if you are ambitious and if you plan to stay with the company long term. They don't want to hear that you plan to quit in 6 months to travel the world.
And let's not forget the behavioral questions like, tell me about a time you faced a challenge. For these, you should use the STAR method, situation, task, action, result. It helps you tell a clear and structured story about your success.
I think the best way to learn is by listening to an example. Let's do a role play. I will be the hiring manager for a marketing company, and you, Martin, will be the candidate applying for the position of senior marketing specialist.
I am ready. I have done my research on the company and I am feeling confident. Action.
Good morning, Martin. Thank you for coming in today. I have reviewed your CV and I was very impressed with your experience. To start us off, Could you briefly introduce yourself and tell us why you are interested in this role?
Good morning, Olivia. Thank you for having me. I have been working in digital marketing for over 6 years, specializing in social media strategy and content creation. I have followed your company's recent campaigns with great interest, and I admire your innovative approach to branding. I feel that my background in data analysis would be a great asset to your growing team.
That is great to hear. We are definitely looking for someone who relies on data. Can you describe a time when you had to deal with a difficult client or a stressful deadline, and how you handled it?
Certainly. In my previous role, we had a client who was unhappy with the initial direction of a project just 2 days before the launch. I immediately set up a meeting to listen to their concerns calmly. We worked overtime to adjust the strategy based on their feedback, and the launch was ultimately a huge success, increasing their sales by 20%.
That is a very impressive result. It sounds like you handled pressure well. Now, looking at your technical skills, how comfortable are you with using CRM software and analytics tools?
I am very comfortable with them. I use Salesforce and Google Analytics daily to track performance. I believe that creativity needs to be backed up by hard numbers to really demonstrate value.
Excellent. Finally, do you have any questions for us before we finish?
Yes, I do. I would love to know more about the company culture here. How does the team usually collaborate on new projects?
Cut. That was a fantastic interview, Martin. You sounded professional, prepared, and you gave specific examples.
Thank you. I tried to focus on results, using numbers like saying increasing sales by 20% makes your achievements sound real and tangible.
And asking a question at the end is crucial. It shows that you are genuinely interested in the company and that you are evaluating them just as much as they are evaluating you.
Let's discuss what happens after the interview. Is it appropriate to send a thank you email, or does that look desperate?
It is absolutely appropriate and highly recommended. Sending a short, polite email thanking the interviewer for their time keeps you fresh in their mind. You can briefly mention one specific thing you discussed to show you were paying attention.
I agree now. The uncomfortable topic, salary negotiation. If they offer you the job, should you accept the first salary offer, or should you try to negotiate for more?
Most experts say you should almost always negotiate. Employers often leave a little bit of room in the budget for this. You can say something like, "I am very excited about the offer, but based on my experience and market rates, I was hoping for a salary in the range of X."
That is a very polite way to put it. Confidence is key, but you must be realistic. Do your research on websites like Glassdoor to see what the average salary is for that position in your city. Don't ask for $1 million if the standard is $50,000.
And remember, compensation isn't just about money. You can also negotiate for more vacation days, flexible working hours, or a budget for professional development courses. These perks can be just as valuable as cash.
Business English is also about being polite but direct. We use a lot of modal verbs like could, would, and should to soften our requests. Instead of saying, "Give me the report," we say, "Could you please send me the report?"
Exactly. Being rude or too aggressive is the fastest way to ruin your reputation in an office environment. People want to work with colleagues who are respectful and easy to get along with.
We have covered the entire hiring process today. Before we clock out, let's review some of the professional vocabulary we used in this episode.
I will start with the word recruiter or hiring manager. This is the person responsible for finding and interviewing new employees. They are the gatekeepers to your new job.
My first phrase is asset. In the role play, I said, I would be an asset to the team. An asset is a useful or valuable thing, person, or quality. You want to be an asset, not a liability.
Next is soft skills. Soft skills are non-technical skills that relate to how you work and interact with others, such as communication, problem-solving, and adaptability.
I mentioned the STAR method. This stands for situation, task, action, result. It is a technique for answering behavioral interview questions in a structured way.
We also talked about notice period. Although we didn't use the exact phrase, it is important. The notice period is the amount of time you must continue working after you resign. For example, I have a 2-week notice period.
Then there is to follow up. To follow up means to pursue or investigate something further. Sending an email after an interview is following up on your application.
And finally, deadline. A deadline is the latest time or date by which something should be completed. Missing a deadline is very unprofessional.
Those are essential words for the corporate world. We hope this episode gives you the confidence to ace your next interview.
Remember, an interview is just a conversation. Be prepared, be yourself, and breathe. You have got this.
Thank you for listening to us today. Good luck with your career goals.
See you in the next episode. Goodbye.
Goodbye.